My name is Diego, and I was there when Julia's story changed forever. It was a sunny afternoon on May 12, 2022, at the local park, where she stood amidst the vibrant blooms, seemingly at peace. Her heart fluttered with a mix of hope and uncertainty as she prepared to confront her past. Her ex-husband had unexpectedly shown up, demanding answers. She smiled, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed her calm facade, hinting at the storm brewing just beneath the surface. The air was thick with the sweet scent of fresh grass, while the distant hum of traffic created a backdrop to this pivotal moment. Julia's strength radiated from her, a beacon of resilience against the chaos of her past. Yet she smiled but trembled, caught between the memories of love and the shadows of betrayal. How can blood turn to poison like this? What nobody knew was that the truth Julia was about to reveal could shatter everything she held dear. The betrayed woman gave so much of herself, hoping for a future filled with love and trust, only to find herself standing on the precipice of heartbreak once again. Would she have the courage to unearth the secrets that had haunted her, or would the weight of her past crush her spirit? The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow over the porch where Julia stood, her hands resting on the railing as she looked out at the yard. The smell of fresh grass lingered in the air, a reminder of the days spent playing with her son Alex when he was little. She could still hear the distant traffic humming in the background, a comforting sound of life moving on, oblivious to the turmoil brewing in her heart. Today was a special day, a family dinner, a tradition Julia cherished deeply. As she prepared the final touches in the kitchen, the rich aroma of her famous lasagna filled the room, mixing with the scent of freshly brewed coffee. Julia loved to cook. It was her way of bringing everyone together, of creating a home amidst the chaos of her life as a single mother. She poured herself a cup, the steam curling up into the air, and took a moment to breathe it in. "Oh my God," she whispered to herself, "I can't believe how far we've come." The door swung open, and Alex walked in, his teenage frame towering over hers now. He looked a bit older, a little more distant, but the warmth in his smile reminded her of when he was just a boy. "Hey Mom, what's for dinner?" he asked, his eyes lighting up as he caught a whiff of the lasagna. "Your favorite," she replied, a smile breaking through the worry lines on her forehead. "And I made your favorite dessert too, chocolate cake with extra frosting." "Awesome, I can't wait," Alex said, dropping his backpack on the floor and moving towards the kitchen. Julia watched him for a moment, her heart swelling with pride. She had sacrificed so much for him, working late nights, juggling 2 jobs, and always putting his needs before her own. The memories of those long hours and missed opportunities replayed in her mind, but she never regretted it. "Alex, can we talk for a second?" she asked, her voice softening as she placed a hand on his arm. "I want to share something with you." "Sure, what's up?" he replied, his tone casual, but Julia could see a flicker of concern in his eyes. "I was just thinking about how much I've worked over the years," Julia began, taking a deep breath. "Every job, every late night, it was all for you. I wanted to give you a good education and a stable home. You know that, right?" "Yeah, Mom, I know. You tell me all the time," he said, a hint of impatience creeping into his voice. "It's just, I want you to understand how much you mean to me," she continued, her heart heavy with unspoken fears. "I want you to appreciate everything we have. This family, this home, it's all we have." In that moment, Samuel burst through the door, his presence like a sudden storm. "Hey, what's the matter?" "You guys look serious," he said, grinning as if he'd just walked in on a joke. "Nothing," Julia replied quickly, her protective instincts flaring. "We were just having a conversation." "Yeah, about how Mom's a superhero," Alex chimed in, trying to lighten the mood, but Julia noticed the way Samuel's smile faltered. He always had a way of turning things around, twisting their conversations to suit his needs. "Whatever you say, Supermom," Samuel teased, rolling his eyes. "Just don't forget to save some cake for the rest of us." As they all settled down for dinner, Julia felt a strange tension in the air. The laughter around the table felt forced, the conversations stilted. She watched as Alex and Samuel exchanged glances, their bond palpable yet unsettling. Julia couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like a shadow lurking just out of sight. After dinner, as they cleared the table, Karen, Julia's best friend, arrived. "Hey ladies, what's cooking?" she called, her voice brightening the dim room. Julia felt a rush of relief at Karen's arrival. She always had a way of easing Julia's worries. "Just a little family gathering," Julia replied, trying to sound cheerful. "You know how it is." As they moved to the porch for coffee, Julia found herself lost in thought. Cultural reflection. In the porch, it hurt like heartbreak. She thought of all the times she had stood here, feeling both joy and sorrow, hoping for a better future for her son. Karen leaned closer, sensing her unease. "Everything okay, Julia? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm just worried about Alex and Samuel," Julia admitted, the words spilling out before she could stop them. "I feel like there's something brewing between them, something I can't quite put my finger on." "Don't overthink it," Karen reassured her, but Julia couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something crucial. Suddenly, Alex rushed outside, his face pale, and Julia's heart sank. "Mom, you need to see this," he said, his voice trembling. "What is it?" she asked, panic gripping her. "Just come here," he insisted, urgency lacing his tone. Julia followed him outside, her heart racing. As they reached the edge of the porch, she saw Nathan, her ex-husband, standing there, a smug smile on his face. The sight of him sent a jolt of anger and disbelief through her. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "I just wanted to check in on my family," Nathan said casually. But the way he said family made Julia's skin crawl. In that moment, Julia felt the weight of her sacrifices crash down upon her. She had fought so hard to keep her family intact, only to watch it unravel before her eyes. The evening had started with hope, but now, as karma walked through that door, Julia realized that everything she had built was about to come crashing down. Julia gazed out the window. "What a beautiful day," she whispered. Nathan noticed her distant look. "You seem lost in thought." The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the backyard where Julia stood, coffee cup in hand, absorbing the calmness that surrounded her. The rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the faint scent of blooming flowers. Birds chirped cheerfully, creating a serene backdrop, but inside, a storm was brewing. Her heart felt heavy, the kind of weight that made her chest ache. She never imagined she would find herself in such a situation with her son, Alex. Just that morning, Julia had discovered the truth about Alex's recent behavior. The moment she found his phone buzzing with notifications from a group of friends she had never heard of, she felt her heart sink. What was supposed to be a day of peace quickly turned into chaos. "Oh my God, Alex, what is going on with you?" she had demanded when he finally emerged from his room, his eyes avoiding hers. "Mom, it's not what you think," he had replied, his voice laced with irritation, but Julia could see the guilt in his eyes. "No, it's exactly what I think. Skipping classes? Hanging out with those kids?" Julia's voice trembled with a mixture of anger and desperation. "You're better than this, Alex." He had rolled his eyes, and in that moment, Julia felt the walls closing in around her. "You don't know them, Mom. They're cool and they're fun. Just let me live my life." That comment had sent a pang of disappointment through her. Julia had sacrificed so much for him, and this was how he repaid her? It felt like a betrayal, sharp and raw. But she couldn't let it end there. She had to fight for her son, even if it meant facing him head-on. Later that week, the local festival buzzed with excitement, the scent of fried dough and popcorn filling the air. Julia hoped a distraction would help alleviate her worries, but the festival turned out to be a turning point instead. As she wandered through the colorful stalls, she spotted a familiar face, Mia, one of Alex's new friends. Mia was laughing with a group of kids, her carefree spirit lighting up the evening. "Hey, Julia," Mia called out, waving her hand. Julia approached cautiously, her heart racing. "Hi, Mia, how have you been?" Julia asked, forcing a smile. Mia's expression shifted, and for a fleeting moment, Julia sensed an undercurrent of tension. "I've been good, but I've heard some things about Alex," she said, glancing around before lowering her voice. "You should know he's been skipping school a lot, and there's been talk about some risky activities." Julia felt her stomach drop. "Risky activities? What do you mean?" Mia hesitated, the words hanging heavily in the air. "Just rumors, but you know how it is. I don't want to get involved, but I thought you should know." As Mia walked away, Julia's mind raced. She had to confront Alex again, but this time it would be different. She couldn't let him slip further away from her grasp. When she returned home, the backyard felt suffocating. The once comforting sounds of nature now seemed mocking, reminding her of the gulf widening between her and her son. She paced back and forth, trying to gather her thoughts, but it felt like the very ground beneath her was shifting. That evening, Julia sat down with Alex, determination coursing through her veins. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "About what?" he replied, crossing his arms defensively. "About you, about your friends, and about what's happening in your life right now," she said, locking her gaze on him. "I heard things, Alex, things that worry me." He scoffed, dismissing her concern. "Mom, it's just rumors. You're overreacting." "Overreacting? Oh my God, Alex, this is serious." Julia's frustration boiled over. "You're skipping school, hanging out with kids who don't care about your future. What do you want me to do? Sit back and watch? Maybe I want to have some fun. You're so uptight all the time," he shot back, the defiance in his voice cutting through her. In that moment, Julia realized something crucial. She was fighting not just against his actions, but against the very idea of what he believed fun to be. Was this the child she had raised? A sudden reflection hit her hard. In the backyard, it hurt like strength. She had given everything for him, yet here they were, two strangers clashing in a battle of wills. "Alex, I love you, but you're losing sight of what really matters," Julia implored, her voice softening. "I want to help you, but you have to let me in." He hesitated, the walls he had built around himself momentarily faltering. For a brief second, Julia thought she might reach him, but then he closed himself off again, retreating into silence. As the night deepened, Julia felt a profound sadness settle in her heart. The distance between them felt insurmountable, and she couldn't shake the feeling that karma was waiting just outside the door, ready to reveal itself in a way neither of them could predict. Julia took a deep breath. "We need to have a serious conversation." Nathan tensed up. About what, exactly? Julia stood in her kitchen, the familiar scent of apple pie wafting through the air, mingling with the smell of rain on the pavement outside. It was one of those late afternoons when the light seemed to linger just a little longer, casting a warm glow on the walls that felt like a hug. But today her heart was heavy, weighed down by the storm brewing within her family. "Alex, we need to talk about your friends," she called out, her voice steady yet laced with an edge of concern. The windchines hanging by the window chimed gently, as if echoing her unease. There was no immediate response. The silence felt oppressive, thickening the air around her. Finally, she heard the creak of his bedroom door and saw him shuffle into the kitchen, earbuds dangling around his neck. His face was set in a stubborn scowl that made her heart sink. "Mom, I don't want to have this conversation," he said, rolling his eyes. "You don't understand anything about me or my life." "Alex, I'm trying to understand," Julia said, taking a step toward him, her hands instinctively clasping together. "But these new friends of yours..." "New friends? Oh my God, they're not just friends. They get me. You're just being controlling." His voice rose, echoing off the kitchen walls as if to emphasize his frustration. Julia felt a sharp pang in her chest. "Controlling? I'm worried about you. You've been skipping school and hanging out with people who what? Who care about me? Who actually listen?" He shot back, his eyes blazing with defiance. "You never listen to me. You just want me to be your perfect little boy." The words cut deep, each one a reminder of how far they had drifted apart. Julia's mind raced as she tried to find the right words, her emotions swirling like the wind outside. "It's not about perfection, Alex. I just want you to be safe. I love you." "Love? You think this is love?" he spat, his voice thick with anger. "You're suffocating me." In that moment, Julia could feel her composure wavering. The strength she thought she had was slipping away, and she took a deep breath, trying to gather her thoughts. "Maybe we can find a way to talk about this," she said softly, but the plea felt weak against the storm brewing between them. "Whatever," Alex mumbled, turning to leave. "I'm done talking." As he stormed out of the kitchen, Julia felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. Reflection. That moment in the kitchen changed everything. The apple pie on the counter, once a symbol of warmth and family, now felt like a reminder of the chasm growing between them. Sinking into a chair, she buried her face in her hands, wrestling with a sense of helplessness. It was then that Karen, her best friend and confidant, knocked and entered without waiting for an invitation. "Hey, I brought some coffee," she said, her voice soothing. "What's going on?" Julia looked up, her heart still heavy. "It's Alex. He's changed, and I feel like I don't even know him anymore." Karen moved closer, sitting across from her. "Tell me everything." As Julia recounted the explosive fight, she could feel the weight of her friend's understanding. "I just don't know what to do," Julia admitted. "I gave him everything. I sacrificed so much." Karen nodded, her expression softening. "Sometimes the people we love can hurt us the most," she said gently. "I've been there. It's hard to see them make choices that could lead to pain." Julia sighed, thinking back to her own experiences. "I thought I was doing everything right. I never wanted him to feel pressured, but now..." "Now he thinks you're controlling," Karen finished for her, her voice filled with empathy. "Have you thought about talking to someone who's been through this?" Julia frowned, the thought of confiding in someone else stirring a mix of hesitation and hope. "I don't know. Who would I even talk to?" "There's that elder in the community, remember? She's wise. She might have insight into how to handle this," Karen suggested. Julia nodded slowly, contemplating the idea. "Maybe you're right. I could use some guidance." As they sat in the kitchen, the rain continued to patter against the windows, and the wind chimes tinkled softly in the background. Cultural reflection. In the kitchen, it hurt like strength. Julia felt a flicker of determination igniting within her. She needed to fight for her son, to bridge the gap that had formed between them. "I'll talk to her," Julia said finally, her voice steadying. "I can't let this go on. I need to understand what's happening with Alex." Just then, the door swung open, and Samuel stepped in, shaking the rain from his hair. "What's the drama? I heard yelling." Julia's heart raced, and she shot him a look. "Not now, Samuel." He raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. "Whatever you say, sis. Just remember, you're the one who wanted to play the perfect mom." The words stung, and Julia felt the heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm doing my best, Samuel," she snapped back, frustration bubbling over. "Your best isn't good enough if he's going off the rails," Samuel shot back, his tone mocking. "Maybe he just needs to break free of your grip." Her heart raced as she felt the weight of his judgment. "You don't get it," Julia said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "You've never had to sacrifice anything for anyone." "Maybe I wouldn't have to if you weren't so busy playing martyr," he retorted before storming out, leaving Julia in a haze of disbelief and anger. As the door clicked shut behind him, Julia's heart raced. Reflection. In that instant, her world shifted beneath her feet. Would she find the strength to confront not only Alex, but the family dynamics that had long held her captive? Julia took a deep breath, realizing that she was standing at a crossroads. It was time to reclaim her voice and her power. "I can't believe you did this!" Julia exclaimed. Nathan tried to explain, but words failed him. The late afternoon sun streamed through the living room window, casting golden rays across the plush couch where Julia sat, her heart heavy with an unsettling mix of dread and anticipation. The faint smell of fresh grass wafted in from the open window, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside her. Birds chirped merrily outside, oblivious to the storm gathering within her family. Julia had always prided herself on being an attentive mother, pouring every ounce of love into her son, Alex. But lately, a chasm had formed between them, and the laughter that once filled their home had been replaced by awkward silences and unspoken words. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that a betrayal lurked just beneath the surface. As she absent-mindedly fiddled with her phone, a sharp pang of anxiety struck her. She needed to confront him, needed to understand why he had been acting out, why he had distanced himself from her. Just as she made up her mind to seek him out, she heard muffled voices drifting in from the backyard. Curiosity piqued, she quietly approached the door, her heart racing. Peering through the glass, Julia's breath caught in her throat. There was Alex, standing with Sarah, the girl who had recently become a constant presence in his life. They were deep in conversation, and she could see the tension in Alex's posture, the way he shifted from foot to foot as if he were caught between two worlds. Julia strained to hear, her heart sinking with every word that reached her ears. "I can't keep living like this," Alex said, his voice low but filled with urgency. "My mom has all these expectations, and it's suffocating. I feel trapped." "Oh my God," Julia whispered to herself, her heart pounding. The sound of their conversation felt like a physical blow, unraveling her sense of security. She felt the ground shift beneath her, as if the very foundation of their relationship was crumbling away. Sarah replied, her voice softer, coaxing, "You have to do something drastic then. Break free. You can't let her control your life forever." The betrayal was sharper than anything she could have anticipated. In that moment, Julia felt the familiar sting of tears threatening to spill. She had sacrificed so much for Alex, and yet here he was, plotting his escape with someone who only seemed to deepen the divide between them. It felt like salt in an open wound. Julia's mind raced as she processed the enormity of what she had just overheard. "He feels trapped by me?" she thought. But as she turned to leave, a shadow flickered at the edge of her memory. Sarah's mother, once a close friend, now a ghost from the past who had betrayed Julia in ways she had never fully confronted. That rift had severed their friendship, leaving Julia to pick up the pieces alone. Sarah's presence in Alex's life felt like a cruel twist of fate, a reminder of her own past hurts. The idea that her son was now entwined with the daughter of someone who had wronged her made her stomach churn. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Julia pushed through the door, determined to confront both her son and the painful memories that bubbled to the surface. "Alex," she called, her voice cutting through the crisp air, "we need to talk." They both turned, surprise etched on their faces. Alex's expression shifted from shock to guilt, while Sarah merely stared, a knowing look in her eyes. Julia's heart raced as she stepped onto the porch, the air thick with unspoken truths. "What's going on between you two?" Julia demanded, her voice stronger than she felt. "Do you think I don't see the changes, the way you've been acting?" "I'm fine, Mom," Alex replied, his tone defensive. "Fine?" Julia echoed. disbelief coloring her words. "You're skipping classes? Hanging out with friends I don't even know? And now I find you here talking about breaking free from me? It feels like you're turning your back on everything I've done for you." "Maybe I'm just trying to find my own path," he shot back, frustration boiling over. "You don't understand what it's like. You have all these expectations and I can't breathe." A painful silence hung between them, the weight of his words settling heavily in the air. Julia's heart sank further. "And what about Sarah? Do you even know who she is?" "Why does it matter?" he replied, his voice rising. "She's my friend." "Your friend whose mother betrayed me." Julia's voice cracked, each word laced with pent-up emotion. "How can you trust her?" "Mom, that was years ago. I'm not you," Alex shouted, his frustration reaching a boiling point. As the tension simmered, Julia's gaze fell on Sarah, whose expression was unreadable. Something flickered in her eyes. Was it pity, or perhaps a flicker of understanding? Then, with a sudden flash of insight, Julia realized this wasn't just about Alex's rebellion or her own past. This was a crossroads, a moment where she could either push him further away or reach out. "Alex," she said, her voice softening, "I know I can be overwhelming. I just want what's best for you." He looked at her, the anger melting into something more vulnerable. "I know, Mom, but sometimes it feels like I'm not allowed to be myself. It's like you don't trust me." The words hung in the air like a bitter aftertaste. Julia took a deep breath, the sound of chirping birds now a distant reminder of the innocence that once filled their home. "Trust," she murmured, reflecting on her own failures, the weight of her expectations. "I need to learn to trust you, too." In that moment, the door swung wide open. The revelation of their shared pain ignited a flicker of hope, a chance to rebuild what had been broken. But the shadows of the past still loomed, and she couldn't ignore the implications of Sarah's presence in their lives. As they stood on the cusp of change, Julia felt a shift within her. Perhaps it was time for both of them to break free, not just from expectations, but from the chains of old betrayals, embracing the possibility of new beginnings. "Oh my God," Julia whispered in disbelief. "I can explain everything," Nathan said desperately. Julia took a deep breath as she entered the support group for parents of troubled teens, the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the faint whiff of freshly cut grass wafting in through the open window. The wind chimes outside danced gently, creating a soothing backdrop to the tension swirling in her chest. She felt exposed, vulnerable, yet determined to find answers. As she settled into a chair, she could see other parents around her, some with weary eyes, others with a fire of desperation. Each face told a story of heartache, of hopes dashed against the harsh reality of adolescence. Julia clenched her hands together, the cool metal of her ring digging into her skin, reminding her of the promises she made to herself and to Alex. When it was her turn to speak, she felt the weight of her own words pressing against her throat. "I just don't know what to do anymore," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "My son, Alex, has changed so much. He used to be this bright kid, and now I can't believe this is happening." Her heart sank as she recalled the days of laughter and innocence, now replaced by silence and secrets. One of the facilitators, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, leaned in. "What do you think has contributed to this change, Julia?" She hesitated, feeling the sting of her own choices. "I guess I was so focused on giving him everything I didn't have growing up, that I forgot to set boundaries. I thought love was enough." The room fell silent, the weight of her admission hanging in the air. "You're not alone in feeling this way," Karen whispered from across the room, her unwavering support like a lighthouse in a storm. "It's easy to lose sight of ourselves when we're trying to be the perfect parent." Julia nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I just wish I could turn back time. I don't know how to reach him anymore." As the session continued, Julia felt the tension within her slowly unravel. She found herself journaling her feelings later that evening, a habit she hadn't embraced until now. The ink flowed freely as she poured out her fears and regrets, scribbling furiously about the moments that had slipped through her fingers. Thought, each word felt like a release, a step toward understanding. In that stillness, she had a moment of clarity. She needed to communicate with Alex differently, to show him that love also meant accountability. She paused, staring at the ceiling, the faint sound of the wind chimes outside echoing her thoughts. "Maybe I have to let him know it's okay to be honest with me," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "I can't keep pretending that everything is all right." Later that week, Julia felt a surge of courage as she approached Alex. He was sprawled on the couch, his phone buzzing with notifications, oblivious to the world around him. The smell of BBQ wafting in from the backyard reminded her of family gatherings that now felt like distant memories. "Alex, can we talk?" she said, her voice steady. He glanced up, annoyance flickering across his face. "Do we have to? I'm busy." "Yes, we do," Julia insisted, her heart racing. "I need you to listen." He sighed dramatically, but she could see the flicker of curiosity behind his guarded demeanor. "Fine, what's up?" She sat down, her palms resting on her knees. "I found out about your friends, the ones I don't know. I just want to understand what's going on in your life." Alex shifted, his expression hardening. "You wouldn't understand. You never do." Reflection. That moment in the living room changed everything. Julia felt her chest tighten. "Try me, please. I'm here for you. But I can't help if you don't let me in. I don't want to lose you." The tension in the room was palpable, the wind chimes outside a mere whisper against their escalating emotions. He hesitated, and for a fleeting moment she saw the boy he once was, the one who needed her guidance. "You think I want to be like this? I hate feeling like I can't do anything right." Julia's heart swelled with empathy. "Oh my God, Alex, I can't believe you feel that way. I've been so focused on my fears that I forgot to ask how you feel." A silence fell between them, thick with unspoken words. Julia could feel the shift as Alex's walls began to crumble, allowing a glimmer of vulnerability to shine through. In that moment, the door swung open, and the unexpected figure of Nathan stepped inside. A smug grin plastered across his face. "What's all this? Family therapy without me?" Julia's heart raced as she locked eyes with Alex. The sight of Nathan, the man who had betrayed her trust, felt like a thunderclap against her newfound resolve. The air grew thick with tension as Alex's expression shifted from vulnerability to anger, and Julia's mind raced. Here was Nathan, the embodiment of betrayal, crashing into their fragile moment of honesty, and she realized that the confrontation she had been dreading was now unavoidable. "Get out, Nathan," Julia said, her voice stronger than she felt. "You've done enough damage." The room was charged, and as she stood her ground, she felt a sense of strength wash over her. No longer would she allow Nathan to dictate her family's narrative. The wind chimes chimed softly outside, a gentle reminder that change was in the air. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the community park where the annual summer picnic was in full swing. Julia stood at the edge of the crowd, her heart racing as she scanned the faces around her. The smell of fresh apple pie wafted through the air, mingling with the rich aroma of morning coffee from the vendor's stand nearby. Birds chirped in the trees, their carefree melodies contrasting sharply with the knot of anxiety in her stomach. "Can you believe we're back here?" Karen asked, sidling up next to Julia, her brow furrowed with concern. "I thought you'd want to avoid this place after everything." "I thought so too," Julia replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I need to confront Alex about his choices. I can't just sit back and let him throw his life away." As they approached the center of the event, Julia spotted Alex and Sarah laughing together. their carefree demeanor a painful reminder of the gulf that had formed between them. The sight of her son, who once leaned on her for guidance, now seemed lost in a world she didn't recognize. "Oh my God, look at him," Julia murmured, her heart sinking further. "He's so caught up in this fantasy." "Maybe it's just a phase," Karen suggested, though her tone lacked conviction. "You know how teenagers are." "Phase or not, he needs to know how this affects us," Julia replied, determination seeping into her voice. Just then, Nathan strolled into view, his charming smile disarming as ever. Julia felt the familiar pang of resentment, a reminder of the trust he had shattered. "This is just perfect," she muttered, eyeing him warily. Of all days, he had to show up. "Maybe it's time to clear the air," Karen nudged her gently. "You deserve to speak your truth." Before Julia could respond, Alex approached them, Sarah at his side. "Hey Mom, can we talk?" he asked, a hint of defiance in his tone. "Preserve the original language of the text. Now's not the time, Alex. We need to discuss what's really going on." "Can't it wait?" he retorted, crossing his arms. "I have a plan, and I want you to hear it." "Your plan?" Julia echoed, incredulous. "You mean your plan to move in with Sarah? I can't believe this." "Why can't you just support me for once?" Alex shot back, his voice rising. "I'm tired of being treated like a child." Julia took a deep breath, her chest tightening. "You are a child, Alex. You're making decisions that could change your life forever. I just want what's best for you." "Best for me or best for you?" he challenged, his eyes narrowing. "You think you know everything, but you don't understand what I want." At that moment, Sarah's mother stepped in, her voice ringing out with surprising support. "You know, Julia, I can't blame Alex. I was young once too, and I made my share of mistakes. Sometimes you have to let them find their own way." Julia's heart raced as she turned to face Sarah's mother. "You think this is just a mistake? He's throwing away his education, his future." "Maybe it's time you both faced your own truths," Sarah's mother replied, her tone unwavering. "You're not the only one with regrets, Julia." Julia felt the world around her tilt, the weight of those words crashing down on her. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice shaking. As the crowd continued to bustle around them, laughter and chatter filled the air, but Julia was lost in the moment. "Have you betrayed your own family too?" "Everyone has secrets," Sarah's mother said quietly, her gaze unwavering. "You should know that." A silence fell between them, the tension palpable. Julia's mind raced as she pieced together the implications of those words. Was she really the only one who had suffered betrayal? "Is this why you're so supportive of Alex?" Julia asked, the pieces starting to align. "You see yourself in him?" "I see a young man who needs to find his own path, just like I did," Sarah's mother replied, her voice steady. "Sometimes that means making choices that hurt the ones you love." Julia's heart sank further, the realization hitting her hard. "You're all just repeating the cycle," she whispered, her voice breaking. Alex's expression softened slightly, and he glanced at Sarah, then back at Julia. "Mom, I want to be happy. Isn't that what you want for me?" "I want you to be safe and secure," Julia replied, her voice thick with emotion. "But this isn't happiness, Alex. This is running away." "Maybe you should take a look in the mirror, Julia," Nathan interjected, a hint of bitterness in his tone. "You've always tried to control everything. It's time you let go." Julia felt the heat rise in her cheeks, fury and heartbreak mixing within her. "Let go? You think I haven't tried? You think I haven't sacrificed everything for you?" Suddenly, Alex stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Mom, I can't believe you're treating me like this. It feels like you're the one who's betraying me." The world around her faded as she stared into her son's eyes, the weight of his words crashing over her like a wave. In that moment, everything shifted. The backyard of their home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a battleground where old wounds and new betrayals collided. Julia understood then that the fight for Alex's future was also a fight for her own peace, and she would have to confront not just her son, but the ghosts of her past as well. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the park, and Julia realized that this confrontation was just the beginning. The truth had walked through the door, and it was time to face it head-on. "Enough!" Julia shouted, her voice echoing. "Please, let me speak," Nathan pleaded. "There's nothing left to say," Julia finalized. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden hue across the kitchen as Julia stood by the stove flipping pancakes. The smell of butter mingled with the fresh grass wafting in through the open window, a reminder that summer was slowly fading. She felt a sense of calm wash over her, a brief reprieve from the storm brewing in her heart. The distant sound of traffic drifted in, a steady rhythm that punctuated her thoughts. Just the day before, she had confronted Alex, her son, about the troubling path he seemed to be on. The hurt in his eyes as they faced each other was something she wouldn't soon forget. It was a pain that mirrored her own. The weight of betrayal hung heavy in the air, tainting the love she had always held for him. "Mom, can we talk?" Alex had finally said, his voice cracking as he entered the kitchen. The earbuds that had once signaled his disinterest were now absent, a small sign of his willingness to engage. "Of course," Julia replied, her heart sinking as she prepared herself for the conversation. The tension felt palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. "I'm sorry for everything," he began, his eyes cast down. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought I could handle it on my own." Julia's heart softened just a little. "I can't believe this is happening, Alex. You shut me out. I felt like I was losing you." He looked up then, and for the first time in weeks, she saw the boy she loved, the one who had once trusted her without hesitation. "I didn't want to burden you with my problems. You've done so much for me. I thought I could prove I was okay on my own." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their misunderstanding hanging between them. Julia took a deep breath, the smell of pancakes momentarily distracting her from the emotional turmoil. "Alex," she said softly, "you don't have to prove anything. You're my son, and I want to be here for you, no matter what, but you need to let me in." His expression shifted, and she could see the realization dawning on him. "I'm sorry, Mom. I really am. I didn't know how to talk to you about it. I was scared." "I was scared too," she admitted. "Scared of losing you, scared of the choices you might make without me. But we can work through this. We can rebuild our trust." "Yeah, I want that," he replied, his voice stronger now. "I want us to be close again." In that moment, Julia felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. It was fragile, like the first light of dawn breaking after a long night. They both stepped forward, embracing tightly, and for the first time in what felt like ages, she felt the warmth of his love enveloping her. Their conversation continued, weaving through the complexities of their relationship. Julia realized that perhaps this was a turning point, not just for Alex, but for herself as well. As they talked, she found herself wanting to share more than just her worries. She wanted to let him see her, all of her, including her vulnerabilities. Later that evening, with the remnants of their talk still lingering in the air, Julia made a decision. She picked up her phone, her hands trembling slightly as she dialed her estranged sister's number. It had been years since they had spoken, but she knew that healing was a two-way street. "Hey, it's Julia," she said when her sister answered. "I know it's been a long time, but I'd like to reconnect. I miss you." "Julia? Oh my God, I can't believe this." Her sister's voice trembled with surprise, yet there was a note of warmth that Julia had been longing to hear. As they spoke, Julia felt the walls she had built around her heart slowly begin to crumble. The past was still there, but it no longer felt insurmountable. In the midst of her struggles, she was discovering strength she hadn't known she possessed. Reflection. That moment at the kitchen changed everything. As she hung up the phone, Julia felt lighter. The kitchen was filled with the fading scent of pancakes. And she realized that healing was a process. It was not just about mending her relationship with Alex, but also about reclaiming her own identity, one step at a time. The door creaked open, and Alex stepped in, a hesitant smile on his face. "I'm really glad we talked, Mom. I know it's going to take time, but I want to make things right." She smiled back, feeling the warmth of hope spreading in her chest. "We'll get there together, Alex." And in that moment, as they both looked at each other with newfound understanding, Julia felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. "My son betrayed the woman who gave him everything, and I stood there when karma walked through that door. But sometimes, the most profound transformation comes from the ashes of betrayal. And you, on your porch, how do you find strength in the face of adversity?"